I respect Burrow and those receivers.
Sal Capaccio with us now on the West Her Hotline. Bills and Bengals Sunday. How about you, Sal? So it's 4-8. It might look on paper like this is a game that the Bills shouldn't have too much trouble with. 5.5-point favorite. But is it not quite that simple for you?
No, it's definitely not. In fact, I think the Bengals are 8-0 in Burrow's last 8 starts overall, to be honest with you. So, I mean, he matters. Big difference. Their record is not a reflection of who they are, I think. Now, that's offensively. I just don't think their defense is very good. They've been bad since the beginning of the season. We were told they were really bad in the preseason, and it got really bad right after that. Like, I remember being with Matt Verderam out at the Bears-Bills scrimmage, and he was like, yeah, I went to Cincinnati, and, like, that defense is so bad. And then, like, it started to show up. And they have played a little better lately, there's no doubt. But I think that's where the Bills can do damage this week. I mean, so it could be a high-scoring game, but with the way that both teams actually run the ball, guys, both teams are very good at running the football. We know the Bills have the best rushing attack in the league, but the Bengals have a very good rushing attack as well. The difference is the Bills will lean into that running game. They will have no problem with like a 60-40 run-pass split, even more. The Bengals have wanted no part of that when they have Joe Burrow. They just want to throw the ball, basically, and then they'll run it once in a while, and they'll be efficient.
So the latest on Darius Slay, which we don't need to spend a lot of time on necessarily, he never did show up. He's been put on a different designation, so he doesn't count against the 53-man roster. There's a report that the Bills have replaced him with safety Darnell Savage, who was with Washington, prior to that Jacksonville, and had played 5 years for Green Bay. What do you know about him? And it's over now with Slay, of course.
Yeah, so haven't dug into Savage yet, but he's a player who's played in the league a while, and coming from, Washington. Was he there when before Dan Quinn? I got to remember when he was there because I would say what's the crossover in the system? You know what's funny though? It's like I thought yesterday a few days ago when they claimed Slay. I said to you guys, I was surprised. I wouldn't have been as surprised it was a safety, right? And just felt like, okay, like safety, maybe you could add a guy here, but where do you really fit a corner? And then with Jamarcus and how all that went down, it just never felt like it was kind of the right fit. You didn't know why, but this feels more like the fit. But unfortunately, it's the circumstance of doing it after Slay. Now, as you guys know, Bulldog, you brought it up yesterday. This is the outcome that I predicted, that the Bills would put him on what's called the reserve did not report list. When this all started and everything happened and they said he's not going to report, I said, and I went through it today and I broke it down on my show today on the Extra Point Show, and I said the most likely outcome here is the Bills are going to put him on a reserve did not report list. What that does is it basically allows the Bills to retain his rights in case he does report. They could, in the meantime, release him at some point, whatever, but he can't just go sign with anybody else. And then he also doesn't count against the 53. It's no different than reserve IR, reserve physically unable to perform, reserve retired. It's called reserve because he's in reserve. He's not on the active roster, and the Bills now retain his rights.
I know we talked about this yesterday, and I did not hear your whole breakdown. I know I saw people complimenting you on it, so I'm sure it was thorough. The one thing that I think I was kind of hung up on yesterday, so I know you could not have talked to Darius Slay while he was on the Steelers, but did you find out at all if once a guy is on waivers, if that is still considered tampering, or can you reach out and find out, like, hey, we're going to claim you, will you come if we do, or does that still just have to be blind?
According to the CBA, it specifically says teams cannot contact players or their representatives while the player is going through the waiver process. Okay. Now, it doesn't say if that's different beginning of the season for a less than 4 year player, but it says waivers. So I'm assuming that's for everything, which makes sense for this reason. Makes sense for this reason, Bulldog, which is the player on waivers is still property of the team who put him on waivers. They still have to clear waivers. It's no different in hockey terms when you put a player on waivers. He has to clear waivers, and then he comes back to your team, and you send him to Rochester, right? And in football, basically he has to clear waivers. Once he does, he reverts back to your team, and then you can do whatever you want with him, and you can release him. So really, while he's on waivers, he's still property of the other team, which is why you can't contact him or have that.
Well, that makes sense. Thank you for finding that out, because I think that is the only, to me, sort of smoking gun there could have been. Like, if you could have found out, then you should have and not waived Jamarcus Ingram. But If you're just trying to make your team better, even marginally, then I don't have, it still looks bad, but I don't have anyone to really blame. Other than Slay not wanting to come, and I'm not mad at him. He's 34 years old, and he wants to stay home. Okay. So, all right, I'm glad that we sort of can close the book on that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that I think that the Bills did what was in their best interest here as far as options and what they could do. And now we'll see if he, there could be a point in time where the Bills decide, okay, well, enough is enough. We'll just release this guy and he can go do what he wants. And they could just kind of, honestly, kind of keep his rights in perpetuity, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, all right, well, if you ever decide to play football again, we have your rights. I think at one point they did, do this with Anquan Bolden and put him on the reserve retired list or whatever. And then Anquan wanted to, if he ever wanted to come back, it didn't matter. The Bills did eventually basically, say, okay, well, we're just going to have you, release you, and then you can do what you want. So I think that was the most likely outcome here, and that's what we got today.
So back to the matchup. The Bills on offense here against Cincinnati. Cincinnati looks like, by the numbers, like a team you could kind of do what you want. So I assume what the Bills want is what we saw last week and have seen other times this year. Heavy and a lot of James Cook. Try to reduce turnover risk and so on. Any reason to think that won't be prominent here Sunday?
No, I think that's exactly what the Bills are going to want to do. I think they're going to want to run James Cook. I think they're going to want to keep the ball in their hands. I think they're going to want to keep it out of Joe Burrow's hands. They're going to want to make sure that they kind of, go to their strength. And with their strength is going to also, in the meantime, mitigate the, Bengals' strength. So I wouldn't be surprised today. And by the way, Chase Brown's a good running back. I just, was talking about how they've done a really nice job there of, what they're doing in the run game. I know the over-under is pretty high. This might be a game that gets a little shortened because of the running of each team. But at the same time, you might see some chunk plays in the run game, which sets you up for some scores. So it might be a higher scoring game, but it might not be the way that we see the higher scoring game normally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there are a couple things there. I mean, I already mentioned that, I think before you came on, the Bills' pass defense is very highly rated. They've earned that, but I think this is a different level of test. The Bills' run defense has been pretty bad, putrid even, largely this year. They're at the bottom of the rankings, but I feel like that's gotten better the more Shaq Thompson has to play. It's like I'm not assuming that the Bengals, because they've been running it well and the Bills have been poor looking at the season-long rankings, I'm not assuming that the Bills can't handle a running game. I think they've been different in that part of their defense for a couple of weeks now.
No, I agree with you, and it's something we talked about a while ago, guys, or a few times, I guess, recently, which is that the Shaq Thompson insertion of Shaq Thompson into the lineup has been beneficial to the Bills compared to what they had in Terrell Bernard. And even I hate talking like that because I think it sounds like you're just saying that Terrell Bernard is not a good football player. I don't think that's the case. I just think right now, for what the Bills need, Shaq Thompson is a better fit because teams are running on the Bills and they're smaller athletic linebackers, and the Bills need someone who can go downhill and play more of an old-school type of middle linebacker, and that's Shaq Thompson. And Terrell Bernard is also dealing with the injury, and he has been dealing. He's out again this week, but that's not the ankle. But he's been dealing with the ankle injury. I think that's been a big issue for him this year, and it's caused him to not be able to fly around as best as he can. So angles are a little tougher. Getting the spots are a little bit tougher to get there as quick as he can. But I think overall, everything considered, the way offenses are attacking the Bills, it just feels like Shaq Thompson has been a better fit. And that has allowed the run defense, to your point, to just be better overall and not allow teams to just get off on it.
Yeah, I know it ends up sounding like we're all down on Bernard. I think if they have their full complement of pieces up front, then Bernard might be more of a fit. Like that the build of their defense is predicated on having Ed Oliver up there and having the other pieces that they wanted to put in place there, and they've been so thin right from the start. I mean, week one, everybody's there, and by week two, it becomes a revolving door, and then Bernard is dealing with the injuries. Like, I guess I'm saying a lot of words here. I'm not closing the book on Terrell Bernard still being an asset to this team as their middle linebacker moving forward. But for right now, I think the way they're constructed, I think they need the element that Thompson brings.
I agree with you, and I, of course, wouldn't do that either. I mean, Thompson is older. He's on a one-year deal. I mean, I can't imagine it'd be this huge market for him in the offseason. Maybe the Bills want to bring him back, and that would be a fine move. But they just paid Terrell Bernard. He's a younger player. I think that overall they still love all the attributes that he brings. He is their team captain on defense. So I can't imagine them, moving off of Terrell Bernard. What I could see, and this is a discussion for a few months from now, of course, right? But what I could see is, to me, the way offenses are playing these days, maybe Terrell Bernard fits more to be a will linebacker. And then you draft or insert a more Shaq Thompson type of middle linebacker. Because
Milano's
I think
is up, right?
Yes, exactly. Milano's contract is up. And maybe if you don't re-sign him, and, it doesn't look like that would be the case, but who knows, then that might be where they go with this. You remember, he was a will linebacker originally. His rookie year, he started that Jets game. It didn't go well. They moved in the middle, and everybody's like, oh, my God, he's so small in the middle. And, yeah, he is a smaller middle linebacker. But I just think maybe down the road, maybe that's something they have to visit.
What's the wide receiver, because we couldn't not ask you this on a Football Friday, pecking order right now, including Kincaid, I suppose, who is questionable for this game, doubtful again for Palmer. That goes back to Atlanta, right? He got hurt in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Joshua Palmer. Brandon Cooks got a little bit of time. Coleman returned. How do you see, Shakir, of course. I don't know, what's the ranking, importance or target share in this game?
Well, I would say this, first of all, that if Dalton Kincaid plays, then he's healthy enough to play. I think they just need to feed him because the Bengals have been terrible against tight ends this year. So he's number one, and he's got to be able to play, though. Sean McDermott said today, when I asked him specifically, is the knee injury new or something he's been dealing with? And he basically said, look, in the best way he could explain it, the way he's explained to him, that they were dealing with the knee last year, and then early this year, the hamstring pops up, so they're dealing with that. So because of that, then the knee didn't get as much attention maybe, and it started to flare up again. So now they're dealing with both, right? He did practice today again. He's been limited all week. So that's number one. Number two, I want to see what Brandon Cooks has in this game. I mean, he played some last week. He caught that pass from Josh early on. From all indications, he's already, kind of ingrained in everything they're doing, the playbook. He understands everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes big. And then, usually when a team is struggling against tight ends, that means they're also maybe struggling in the slot, which that could be an area where you use Khalil Shakir a little bit more.
Yeah, I wonder about the middle of the field against this team. And so maybe that's even James Cook out of the backfield, too, and Ty Johnson as well when we're talking about the passing game. Yeah, there's a scenario where the Bills sort of have, on offense, another Tampa game. Where it's just there's not a lot of pass rush coming, right? Cincinnati, no Hendrickson. I think Allen, if they want it, not them just expecting them to lean into a throw heavy game plan or anything, but I think they should have time to operate.
I agree. Now the Bengals offensive line has actually been better. I think that we have this perception of their offensive line that they're horrible. They can't protect Joe Burrow. A lot of that has been on Burrow throughout the years, right? Burrow's kind of taken some sacks, and that's been kind of a knock against him a little bit. He's not the most mobile back there, and he's dealing with the toe. But their offensive line's been better. Their sacks for pass attempts are actually not that bad this year. They've had a little bit of in and out of the lineup type of thing, but I think they've done a better job to stabilize that. The Bills will not have Joey Bosa. We know that he's ruled out of the game. Bosa and Bernard are the only two that are ruled out. So you have Greg Rousseau and A.J. Panessa, by the way. Obviously, A.J. Panessa showed up yesterday with the foot injury, was in street clothes. That's good news. And just so everybody knows, it didn't seem like anything happened at practice. Sean McDermott specifically used the word off hours when we were talking about it. So I'm guessing something happened at home. I don't know. He slipped on the ice or, stubbing his toe going down the stairs. I have no idea. But, something happened there.
He's fine.
But they're going to need those guys. They're going to need their complement because, getting some pressure on Burrow and getting move off his spot, so to speak, is going to be important. I don't know who they're going to elevate tomorrow, but my suspicion would be Morgan Fox gets his first action. He's been with the Bills now for several weeks. They have to elevate somebody from the practice squad because they only have 3 healthy defensive ends right now going into this one, unless they count T.J. Sanders in that role. But I know they don't love using him out there all the time.
Less likely for me than it was a decade ago, but if I came down with a foot injury from home, I stepped on a Lego, probably. I stepped on a Lego and then on a stair, and something worse than just, ow, happened. I don't know if that could have been the case here with Epinesa. Sal, we'll let you go. Thanks for your time. Enjoy the game.
All right, guys. You got it. Thank you.
That's our Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. His appearances are always brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?